back to another episode of Crossing the Line. Tonight we're going to be looking at a story from the Washington Post. You know them, you love them for their left-wing media bias, but hey, we might as well use them as a source. Inside Tenet Media, the pro-Trump supergroup allegedly funded by Russia. Now, if you haven't heard over the last few days, a group known as Tenet Media that licenses a lot of content from right-wing pundits such as Benny Johnson and Tim Pool and a few other notable people have been ousted as apparently Russian-owned media and funded by Russia to the tune of somewhere up to $10 million. Now, the left-wing media is running with this story full hilt, and it's come out of an indictment from the DOJ. And you know, the DOJ under President Biden and Harris there is nothing but impartial and only goes after the people who have actually done wrong things. It wouldn't go after anyone for crimes that they haven't actually committed. But you know, that's just the political landscape at the moment. But it just seems that the left has got what they want with this story, whether it's true or not, and I would not hold my breath saying it is true. I'd be putting it to the test, getting all the info and finding out before throwing around allegations where people might be getting sued for defamation. I think Tim Pool is suing several people for defamation, including the Harris campaign or the government. I don't know who do you actually sue there. I don't know, but there is a lot of allegations of Russian trolls, calling people Russian sympathizers, Russian propagandists, things like that. And it's mainly coming from the left at a few pundits, and mainly Tim Pool for being probably the most famous of the bunch caught up in this. He had licensed his YouTube show, or one of his YouTube shows, out to Tenet Media, where they had the rights to the show and basically paid him a wage or some of the profits from airing that show. You'd think it would just be a normal kind of thing, but it seems anything to do with American politics, there is spies, there is interests that are not aligned with what you think they are getting involved, whether it's people like George Soros with things like Washington Post, Jeff Bezos, people like that. It's a murky world, and anyone trying to make any money out of it seems to be under the thumb or under the payroll of someone, some person for nefarious means half the time. I mean, there's places like Rumble that are pretty trustworthy, and X now that is owned by Elon, pretty trustworthy, but things like Tenet Media that just kind of popped up overnight, and it turns out they were a bit of a could have been a bit of a Russian asset. I don't think anyone there actually knew what was going on besides maybe a few of the top people, which had nothing to do with any of the YouTubers there. But we'll get into the story from the Washington Post, and bear in mind their bias, because they are out for these people's heads. And this whole thing stinks to high heavens of DOJ corruption and maybe misdealings, and it's kind of maybe a honeypot situation where this was actually dreamt up by the FBI. You know how that whole FBI thing where they like to pretend they're terrorists and get people to do terrorist acts and arrest them just before they do it, or sometimes after they do it. That whole shtick that the FBI has. But we'll get into this story here. Even by the standards of right-wing social media, last year's rollout for a Tenet Media was strange. Video's event featured influencers such as Benny Johnson and Dave Rubin talking pointlessly about freedom and censorship while bathed in a nightclub-style purple light. I don't get why that's got anything to do with it. Tim Pool, a much-followed right-wing commentator, he's not... I suppose he is right-wing. He says he's not right-wing. He's more of a libertarian. But compared to just about every other person out there, yeah, right-wing, I hate to say it, but yeah... we're all right-wing. If you're not a screaming leftist, you're right of them. So proclaimed that Tenet would be the kind of YouTube supergroup that will compete with the untrustworthy mainstream media. I worked with several massive corporate news organizations. Pool, a former Vice News staffer, said his own purple tone promotional video. And what did I learn? They lie. From its first days through the online stars, Tenet called its talent, seemed to question why this collective existed at all. They all still posted their own channels. Tenet's view counts were noticeably low. Founders conservative social media commentator Lauren Chen and her husband Liam Donovan Christensen got an answer about Tenet on Wednesday. The Justice Department indicted 2 employees of the Russian government-funded RT for illegally operating Tenet behind the scenes. Rather than a domestic network of social media accounts, prosecutors alleged that Tenet was a foreign influence operation funded roughly $10 million in Russian money, which is a lot of money to people like you and I. Not a lot of money in the YouTube space, especially for some of these creators. I think Tim Pool's YouTube and entire business seem to be somewhere around $100 million annually. Don't quote me on that, but I've seen numbers like that. Who knows whether they're true or not? But yeah, they make a lot of money, and they don't need to be taking money from Russian oligarchs or whatever the hell this turns out to be. It's probably money coming from the FBI, so it's their taxpayer money anyway, so they're just getting a little bit of it back. The indictment outlines how prosecutors say this money was sent overseas, shared among conservative YouTubers through whom Russia sought to promote its agenda. Now, it's Russia's agenda in line with Benny Johnson and Dave Rubin. I don't listen to a lot of. I do listen to a lot of Tim Pool and his whole media and friend group there, I suppose. Basically, the Russian agenda, if they were pushing anything, they don't get money and they don't get told what to do by anyone. There's no oversight. If Tim wants to do a story on, like I'm going to do later, the Haitians in Ohio killing and eating ducks from the local parks, he'll do a story on that. He'll sit down and do 3 hours on that, a conversation. It doesn't matter. It's up to him. It's his show. He gets to do what he wants, and I don't think anyone could tell him what to do. I mean, there's several times he's called out his own viewers and own fans to the dismay and angering a lot of people, even just recently, telling some of them to basically sod off and, screw you. I don't care about your feelings. I'm not going to bend to your will. It's his show. It's his money. It's his life. He gets to do what he wants with it. And he's got fuck you money, really. And he's got the power there running his own business with no one to answer to. So why not? I mean, he's not going to be taking money from anyone he doesn't even read ads on his show unless it's for his own coffee. So he's not going to be taking money to sprout someone else's nonsense. That's for darn sure. And the people saying that he's a Russian asset, even some of his fans, which are totally deranged. It seems to be just coming from the fact that he doesn't want to promote the Ukraine war and the war in Gaza as well. He's basically on the side of fucking, it's none of our business. It's my money. I don't want to be sending there. You guys go do your own thing. Leave us out of it, which is pretty much my opinion, pretty much a lot of people's opinion in the middle or the libertarian side, or even the right-wing side. A lot of people don't want to get involved and don't want us to be spending our taxpayer dollars over in foreign countries, sending people to die in trenches, when a lot of it could just be negotiated, and a lot of it was, it is America's fault to begin with, that they're there, and NATO, they kept knocking on Russia's door, and Russia finally opened the door and let them have it with a 12-gauge, but it seemed, it's Russia shouldn't have invaded. We all know that. I mean, Israel's killing a lot of civilians. Did they start it? No. It's a shitty world. Bad things happen. Do I have to pay for it? No. Do I have to care about it? No. I mean, like something Tim Pool would say would be, you don't know what's going in Myanmar. You don't know what's going in Burma. You don't know what's going on in, the concentration camps in North Korea. You don't care about those things. You don't care what's going on in Africa. You don't care about the massacres and genocides going on over there. You only get told to care about certain things, and that's the only things you care about. The only time you ever care about something is when the mainstream media rams it down your throat for 6 weeks, and then it finally clicks in the general psyche of the sheep population of the world, and they all repeat and say the same thing. It's like Slava Ukraine, things like that. From from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Shit like that. That kind of rolls off the tongue after it's been drilled into a few people's head, and they think there's a cause there. And yeah, so you're allowed your own opinion. Tim Pool has his own opinion, and he won't be telling anyone, getting told by anyone what his opinion should be. So this entire thing seems to be funded by someone and run just to smear these right-wing people or independent people, especially the media voices. Maybe this whole thing was set up just to come out at this time, just before the election, to smear this entire talking point there that these guys just sit there talking about truth all day and try to give you the truth, and at least as they see it or as the facts they are given. And if they get something wrong, they generally retract that and make a statement about it, unlike a lot of places like the Washington Post and New York Post and normal mainstream media outlets. They don't retract things and they don't apologize when they get things wrong, like the entire COVID narrative, the entire these people are still harping on that the Vietnam War was a just effort and that the Iraq War was a just effort because I don't know, that they have a really short-term memory, I guess. But these independent journalists and media groups are dangerous, and I think this is why this has happened. I think this was these guys were honeypotted. I think this was made to come out just before the election to smear all these people and throw dissent among the ranks of the right. I mean, we saw people like GETTR on Twitter. If you don't know who he is, don't worry about it. But descending the ranks and arguing that, saying that Joe Rogan's a nobody and nobody listens to him and that he's a dickhead and blah, 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 just because he didn't even endorse RFK Jr., but he just said RFK Jr. is a cool dude and he'd vote for him if, that was going to make a difference. And I think we all know who Joe Rogan actually, if you listen to anything, he says who he is actually voting for at the end of the day, and it ain't fucking Biden. And it won't be RFK. Let's just say I think he might be voting for Trump. Whether he's going to come out and say it, he's not going to come out and endorse the man. He can't do that because he'd just give him a massive ego boost, and then he would just get attacked venomously and viciously like he'd never been attacked before, even over the COVID things. It would pale in comparison if he come out and put his vote in for Trump publicly before the election. It would give him a lot of heat that he doesn't need to have. And people on the right seem to get irate about that, irate about him kind of being a middle of the road kind of person. And the funny thing is, Joe Rogan has brought more people over to the free thinking, I'd say right-wing side, where people actually look into things and listen to evidence and don't just follow the sheep agenda that's going on for the day. Joe Rogan's opened a lot more people's eyes than any other person out there that I could possibly imagine. The likes of Jordan Peterson, which, they collaborate quite often. People like that. And there's retards on Twitter called GETTR that are going out there because they're not 100% for Trump. I mean, I think someone's got a problem there. And I think that the right-wing media and the independent journalists and that are cannibalizing each other like this, which is exactly what's happened after this story broke, is all Democrat-funded, Democrat-run. This is their plan exactly, because they all come out with the exact same talking points, whether it's Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, whether it's Harry Sisson from Biden's Fleshlight, or it's, any activist on the left there carrying on. They had the same tune, they had the same song, they had the same thing coming out after this. Oh, you're all Russian assets, you're all Russian trolls, you're all blah, 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 fake media, blah, blah, blah. It's the same smear, same thing. Most of the 6 members of Tennant's talent team claim they did not know money was coming from Russia. Canadian activist Lauren Southern has not issued a statement as of this writing. The indictment alleges that Tennant's founders, the Russian backers, misled at least 2 of them, Tim Pool and Rubin, about the source of Tennant's funding by inventing a fictitious Belgian investor named Edouard Grigorian. Turns out that Edouard Grigorian might be actually a real person. Just has a really zero internet footprint, apparently, and quite private. I knew absolutely nothing about any of this fraudulent activity. Rubin, who rose to prominence by fashioning himself as a centrist critic of liberalism, has said in a statement. The news that some of the right's best online stars has apparently unwittingly taken millions from the Kremlin. See, it's like they're trying to put into your head that they walk up and they do some shady deal with an envelope in some dark alley somewhere and they get given a whole bunch of money from a Russian agent. That's not what happened at all, if any of this actually happened at all. I guarantee you, after the election's over, this will amount to absolutely nothing. And they will, well, if Trump wins, they're going to have bigger fish to fry. And if Harris wins, well, I think they don't care about this anymore because they don't need to smear anyone because they've got what they wanted. Kremlin provoke a wave of schadenfreude from the critics on X. Never Trump conservative writer Christian Vanderbroek quipped that Tenant stars managed to see conspiracy theories everywhere, yet never questioned why mysterious Belgium was paying them to prop up a Little Watch YouTube channel. It's not Little Watch. They get millions of views on that channel, on all these channels. And that's what I mean. A Never Trump conservative is attacking them. It's almost like he's on the Democrats' payroll because they're out there spreading the same misinformation that the Democrats are. Chen and Donovan aren't named in the indictment, but Tennessee corporate records identify them as Tenet's founders. Prosecutors allege that the founders knew their funding was coming from Moscow and privately acknowledged and messaged to each other or that their backers were Russian. Chen, who uses a social media handle Roaming Millennial, is well connected to the right. She has 572,000 YouTube subscribers on her own channel. Until recently, I hosted online shows for Glenn Beck's website, The Blaze. While Chen is a conservative influencer in her own right, her involvement in Tenet was not publicised. Now, her YouTube channel has been completely shut down, along with Taylor Hanson, I believe it was, has been shut down with no evidence proving that they, or alleging that, especially Taylor Hanson, had done anything wrong. No one has actually come out with any evidence. This is just an indictment isn't actually, like saying that you have done these things. It's like we are starting an investigation, which I think these guys are all have been deemed in the indictment as unwitting, I suppose, victims to this entire thing, if it's true at all. YouTube said in a statement Thursday evening it had to terminate and Tenet Media channel after learning of the indictment. See, that's wrong as well, because YouTube has no right to terminate Tenet Media channel, even if they were doing this, because what they're alleging is that these two people who are running Tenet Media just did not file for a foreign agent badge. Like, they didn't declare themselves as Russian, business people with Russian views, I suppose. I don't get exactly how it works over there, but that's basically the end of it. It's like they said that, like, you're allowed to run these things, but they just say this was completely a Russian propaganda machine, like Russia, not Russia Today, but yeah, maybe Russia Today. Say it's Russia Today. They're allowed to have their channel on TV and YouTube and all that because it's there. You can go and Google it now. It's there. They just have to say that they're funded by Russia. Apparently, these guys didn't say that. That's the crime here. But none of these YouTube people would have known or seem to have known. Maybe Lauren Chen knew. Seems that she's getting she's copying most of the heat here. But yeah, it just stinks to high heavens to me. Chen, as part of her ongoing efforts to combat coordinated influence operations, in December 2022, according to the indictment, Ten's Russian investor tasked the site founders for hiring a personality that could serve as the face of the channel and routed the funds through far-flung destinations as Mauritius and the United Arab Emirates. Much of that money went to Rubin and Poole. According to the indictment, Rubin received $400,000 a month for 16 videos, plus a performance bonus for $100,000. Signing bonus for all these series in which Rubin commented on dumb internet clips that often receive just roughly 1,000 views per episode. So Rubin commenting on stupid videos like TikToks or people twerking in the street and things like that. How is that suiting Russia's agenda? I don't get. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, he's talking about TikTok videos half the time. Tenet also proved lucrative for Poole, who made $100,000 per episode for a weekly show he hosted, according to prosecutors. Same month, Tenet launched Poole purchased a skate park in Martinsburg, as well as significant real estate purchases in the same area. What's that's got to do anything. Rubin and Poole initially asked for more information where the money was coming from, prompting the Russians to invent Edouard Gregorian, a fictional Belgian banker committed to free speech. The indictment states Gregorian's name was misspelled on many documents, and the influencers could find no evidence online that he worked at the real bank where he claimed to have made his money, plus a profile of Gregorian created by Russian cited in the interest of social justice. Red flag for Rubin according to the email sent by one of Tenet's founders. I think it may be because that's usually a term used by liberals, but we're trying to create a conservative network, the founder wrote to Tenet's Russian backers, according to the indictment. Tenet managed to reach some prominent conservative figures, former president candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, and the National Republican National Committee chairwoman Lara Trump. Both appeared on in the Arena, a Tenet-funded show hosted by Johnson. Even after recruiting their talent through Russian properly running, Tenet were frustrated with Tenet's lack of success. Like many media executives, they worried that their employees were doing more to promote their own personal social media brands than their own new outlet. In February 2024, Elena, I'm not going to even try to say that, one of the indicted RT employees allegedly complained on the alias of a Tenet chat room that the influencers that she had hired weren't hosting Tenet enough. Boosting Tenet enough. I know this is not an obligation, but we're falling behind the numbers, she wrote, according to the indictment. Still frustrated news shook right-wing media world. Much of the reaction naturally came from the YouTube live streams. On his show Wednesday, Poole claimed that he was skateboarding when he heard of the indictments, and he talked to Chen. He heard of the company that was paying $100,000 a week only twice in the past year. On Wednesday night, Christensen said that on a YouTube stream that he had never been influenced by Russia in his coverage and merely promoted values dating back to America's founding. I guess if that aligns with the Russian President Putin, then I've been had, Christensen said. That's what I mean. It's these guys aren't actually going out there and saying anything like Putin talking points. They're just promoting strong borders. They're promoting, the right to vote with an ID, basically. Make sure you don't get an election stolen. Like, that never happens anyway. But they're promoting what you think right-wing people would promote. Anti-abortion, Christian conservatism. I don't see how Russia helps with any of that. I mean, Putin came out the other day and said he hopes Kamala Harris gets voted back in because, well, I think we all know why. Because he'd rather a laughing jackal hyena who can't think straight because she's too drunk than Donald Trump, who's well known to be a hard man to bargain with. And I don't see why Russia would be paying these people to, I don't know, make America great again. Maybe it's because things like people like Joe Biden have done more damage to people like Putin than anyone else ever has. Not because of he's doing good things, because he's using the Ukrainian people as human meat shields for NATO. But that's a different topic. What do you guys think anyway? I think this whole thing's a farce. I think it's going to come out after the election. This is going nowhere and it's a load of shit. It's a honeypot by the FBI, if anything. I think we've got bigger issues, especially the Democrats have got definitely bigger issues. How China used a mid-level government aide in New York to influence politics. This is the kind of shit. And then stuff like this. Amazon's run by Jeff Bezos, who also owns the Washington Post. Amazon Alexa praises Camilla but refuses to give reasons to vote for Trump video. Now, I don't know if you've seen this. It's been going around for about a week, maybe 2 weeks now. But it's kind of disturbing that when you ask Amazon Alexa or any AI thing now that they will not give you a good answer for Trump. They will not give you a straight answer for Trump. They will go out of their way to make sure they don't give you an answer whether you should vote for Trump. But they're happy to say that they'll vote for Kamala, whatever her friggin' name is, the drunk old bitch. Amazon has been accused of election interference after the users of his Alexa virtual assistant reportedly strikingly different responses when asked for voting for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump? One woman asked in a video posted on next Tuesday. I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate, the AI responded. Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris? The woman asked. Alexa then replies, while there are many reasons to vote for Kamala, the most significant may be that she is a strong candidate with a proven track record of accomplishment. This is the first female vice president, blah, 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 blah. It's right in your face. They go out and smear the right-wing media, saying that they're Russian assets. It's Russiagate 3.0 all over again. Meanwhile, their own media is running Biden ads or Harris ads now. And while the Democrats have got Chinese spies working for them. The decision by the New York prosecutor to charge a former aide of the New York governor this week as acting as an illegal agent for the Chinese government has raised concerns about China's efforts to influence US politics. Linda Sun held numerous roles in New York state government, including deputy chief staff for Governor Kathy Hochul. She is accused of pushing Chinese interests at state functions, including allegedly blocking representatives from Taiwan from meeting the governor in exchange for financial benefits worth millions of dollars. See, now that's a red flag. It's a red flag with a hammer and sickle on it. Sun's arrest on Tuesday is the latest and perhaps the most high profile in a series of cases the US Department of Justice has prosecuted in recent years to rout out Beijing's agents on the US soil. It's amazing you haven't heard anything about this. But no one heard anything about this Chinese spy getting arrested and working for Kathy Hochul. Well, previous cases involved charges against suspected Chinese spies were reporting on a surveilling dissidents critical of the Communist Party. Tuesday's case appeared in the show how China was trying to directly influence US politics in line with its interests, even at local events. Why state level? China sees it important to cultivate state-level relationships because they work their way out from the bottom. They can't get into the White House. They'll get into every single courthouse, every single media outlet, every single police station, make their own police stations now. This is what I mean. You haven't heard a thing about this. I mean, they're reporting it here, but it's not advertised as much as something like this tenant media thing, which turns out it'll probably turn out to be bullshit. And then this Amazon Alexa thing. They're going out of their way to steal the next election. It's insane, and the mainstream media allows it, and doesn't just allow it, they help them do it. What do you guys think anyway? Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.